Hi, how's everybody doing today? So just really quick, I want to go over a couple of different case studies. They ask us to talk about smart cities as it relates to Internet of Things, some of the things that we've done in the market, seen in the market, trends that we're working with, and also some new technologies that maybe you hadn't thought about that we're able to integrate into our platform. Can everybody hear in the back okay? Because I know it's really loud. Is that better? All right, there we go. All right. So just real quick, whenever people are thinking about a smart city, do we have are developers, consumers, city officials? What do you do? What do you do today? Are you a developer or a consumer? No? All right. Just wanting to learn about what it is? All right. Perfect. So whenever we look at smart city, what is the vision that we look at? 3 different key things that we're looking to try to do. Number 1 is leverage the city data so that we can provide efficiencies and also drive economic growth, which every city right now is trying to figure out how to do that. Second thing is that we look at a hub that will make a variety of data sources relevant to the data systems that are already in place today. So how do we take additional data from the Internet of Things, put it with the systems that are in place today, and then the third point is start making more intelligent decision-making processes. So whenever you get ready for the next round of budgets, how do you become smarter and more aware about the things that you can do in order to drive efficiencies within the city? So from there, a couple of different things, especially from a development side, if you're looking to develop applications or solutions, a few different key things that we have had our solution providers really pay close attention to. First of all, is everything is an individual use case. Depending on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, you're going to have to look at different types of connectivity options, different types of gateway to sensor technologies. So don't come at it with a one-size-fits-all. Second thing is will the network connectivity type be agnostic? And I'll get into that in just a minute and where Stream actually helps out with that. And then thirdly is create an environment that will allow the network data to be used by multiple different people. So don't make it just only for one particular group. Make it valuable and relevant for everybody that has a say within making budgets, creating new technologies for efficiencies, and also even in the economic driving growth within the city itself. So for you that don't know what a smart city is, I just put this up just for a quick reference. Some of the different solutions that we have seen people looking at, of course, more are evolving every day as new technologies evolve every day. So really quickly, pollution monitoring is really, really a big deal, especially outside the U.S. and also within your larger metropolitan areas. Smart buildings. You can consider them a smart city because they're helping provide efficiencies back to the grid, which is a really big issue, especially I'm from Dallas, and one of the biggest issues that we have is in the middle of the afternoon, how many buildings, how many houses are using electricity that's unnecessary. So what can we do to provide efficiencies on the grid itself? And then connected vehicles. Obviously, everybody's heard about telematics by now, and vehicle tracking and all the other efficiencies that come with that. And then security, safety devices, and CCTV. So ones I'm actually going to share case studies on are waste management and traffic management, and then also some of the energy monitoring. So where does Stream come into play, and how do we fit into the smart cities play? So back in 2000, we became your traditional MVNO, reselling services from different carriers. In 2010, we built a platform that was very unique to the marketplace, and actually still today is the only one that is able to take a SIM card for cellular, satellite, and also the integration of low-power radio under one pane of glass, one portal, and be able to activate, deactivate, do all your account management the same way that you would typically do with a cellular provider. Second to that is what we've done is simplify the complex. So if you're familiar with all those different technologies, each one requires a different type of an activation process. We do that on the back-end system for you, so it keeps it very simple and easy to use on the front-end system. So there's no complexity, there's nothing new that you have to learn. All it is you look at the inventory you have, you activate the device, and then you start monitoring how much data is being used on a monthly basis. Keep it extremely simple and possible. So one of the things I want to talk about, we're running a little short on time because of scheduling here, but a couple of different things I want to talk about. Low power radio, is everybody familiar with low power radio and kind of what it does? And the multi-tech guy raises his hand. So low power radio, one of the biggest things that we see issues with just from an overall perspective is the numbers that are being thrown out for number of connections for Internet of Things by 2020. There's all kinds of different numbers that you can play with. But the reality is this. Cellular connectivity is still very expensive. And so whenever you're looking at something along the lines of a smart city, you need to be able to utilize multiple different types of network connectivity in order to keep your solution costs down to the local government, to the building that you're selling it to, the building management company, and so forth and so on. So one of the things that we did with low power radio is we started talking about trash bins. I know this might not sound like it's a big deal, but let me show you some numbers that'll make it realistic for you. So on trash collection, and this is actually, we did this over in the UK. So what was the problem that we were trying to solve for? Basically, the city council needed to be able to justify, do we hire another truck and driver to be able to go by and pick up additional waste throughout the week? And so to them, in dollars, that's about a $150,000 investment. So for pennies on the dollar, we were able to deploy a low-power radio solution, which you'll see on the next slide, is literally underneath the lid within the trash collection bin itself. And what it's doing, a couple of different things. One, what type of trash is being put in the bin? How full is it? And what are also the trends? So if this is in, let's just say like an area of a college, does it become really, really high collection point because you have students moving in and out and then everything else normalizes from there? That wouldn't justify an additional truck or a driver. So it was looking at historical data to make intelligent decision-making processes, okay? Now, the reality of that is some of the key takeaways were not what we expected in the very beginning, believe it or not, because we thought that it was going to be route optimization. You know, these people are going to be able to go over here, pick up first, go over here, pick up second, save fuel, and all these other things that we typically think of. But in reality, it was a completely different set of data that we got back from this study. And first of all, it was, the truck routing had no effect, none whatsoever. But here's what did have the effect. Now we started looking at the different areas or the different neighborhoods, the demographics, and what was being thrown away within those demographic areas. So whenever you looked at the transient, like students, short-term rentals, we started seeing the commodity overflow as just general household items, general trash that you see every day. Cardboard boxes, bottles, cans, things of that nature. Secondly, in the affluent locations, this was really funny, the majority of them, it was wine bottles. So what that told us was a couple of different things. Does it need to be a general trash bin or does it need to be a recycle bin? So it allowed them to start making intelligent decisions, not just if they needed another truck or driver, but what actually would solve the problem that they were trying to solve for. And then lastly, supplied the recycled commodity bins to suit the locations, and then we added efficiencies to stop the overflow problem. So it ended up being recyclables, not just your normal trash. And so we were able to help mitigate some of the costs there with that study. The next one, just really quickly, parking optimization. This is actually was a study done here in the U.S. So using, on averages, 30% of city congestion, especially in a downtown area, is due to people trying to find a place to park. And I know everybody in the audience can raise their hand and attest. I was one of those people within a short time ago, okay? So how do you help solve for that? So we worked with Streetline and Dust Networks that came up with an app that actually installs on your smartphone and starts telling you where you can park. So whenever you typically just throw this out to a city government, they're going to tell you, no, we don't have the capital to be able to do that, until you start showing them the ROI and what they're actually able to recoup in place of a very, very small investment that they would have to make on their part for the cost of the solution. And then the street lighting. So whenever you think of street lighting, one of the things that typically in the original sense we started thinking of was, how much do light bulbs cost? How do we know whenever a light bulb is out, other than somebody driving around and calling the city official and then coming out and replacing bulbs? That was the initial thought. What we didn't know was what the CO2 impact was because of the emissions from the light bulbs themselves. So whenever we started looking at the cost, the annual cost of savings to switch over to a non-fluorescent bulb, it's about $60 a month in savings. More importantly, which made a bigger impact, was the CO2 reduction. So whenever you started looking at what we actually did, replicating the scenario around the world, not just in the UK, we looked at an annual CO2 savings of 516 million tons of CO2 emissions. So what I would say going forward, if you're a developer, don't look at it from a traditional standpoint of things that we have been thinking that we gather from data that we collect. It's always going to be something that is more valuable, that is going to allow them to be able to justify the cost and the ROI. So in conclusion, some of the things that we've learned just through the engagements that we've had, some of the partners that we've worked with for their solutions, IoT networks definitely are not a one-size-fits-all. I think everybody here can understand that by now. Secondly is multiple connectivity options are required, not just wanted, but they're required. And so the next people that are up to talk are one of our partners, Multitech. They've embraced this opportunity to be able to bring low-power radio with cellular gateways into the picture, which have helped tremendously with proof of concepts and things that we're looking at. How do you have multiple technologies look through one particular platform and also solve for multiple problems at the one time at a lower cost? So really quickly, at the front left of the building, we're in booth 201. Love for you guys to stop by and take a look. We do have a solution that's up and running, actually using 3 of our partners, Multitech being one of them, providing the connectivity. And love to have you stop by and have a further discussion if you would like.
Excellent. So are there questions? Oh, this is a quiet crowd, and as usual, I'm excited. I think, it's been a hard thing to say LTE and IoT together for a long time. So
that's oxymoron.
Yeah, so I think this is good news that this is coming down the pike.
Absolutely.
And I like a lot of the practical applications. So great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
Absolutely.
Give him a round of applause one more time, please.